Roman is the biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French Toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Less people wanted that than are currently watching our stream.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Jashanti. We will get to his lower third in a bit, but we are back here once again to review this evening's episode of AEW Dynamite. This was the final Dynamite before we head to Revolution on Sunday. So we got a lot of good setup as we head into the pay-per-view. We start with our opening segment, which saw Hangman Adam Page come down to the ring to address his ankle injury from last week. Now, this was something that we caught as the show was going off the air last week, and we immediately addressed it here because there was so much speculation of whether or not it was a work or a shoot. No one was really sure, and we had just come on the air right after the show ended, so we didn't know what was going on. Throughout the week, there were mixed reports. I think it was the Wrestling Observer that reported it was real, and then I believe Fightful said it wasn't, and Hangman is just that good at working by sending the camera away. So we weren't really sure coming into this what had happened. And to play off of that, Hangman comes down to the ring with a crutch under his right arm. He then announces that due to his ankle injury, he will not be able to compete for the AEW World Championship on Sunday. As he finishes saying that, Swerve's music hits and he comes down to the ring with Prince Nana and says that while he and Hangman have gone to war over the past 6 months, and that he may have crossed the line a couple of times, he only went after Hangman in the first place because of who Hangman is and what he's accomplished in this business. Swerve then goes on to say you can't avoid destiny, though, and while it appears Hangman's destiny wasn't to compete in this match, Swerve's destiny will be to become the new AEW World Champion. Samoa Joe then comes out onto the stage and breaks up what he calls love fest between two former rivals, saying that despite the two of them being called young, hungry wrestlers, they are both accomplished hungry wrestlers, and the reason they are so hungry is because he has left them starving as the AEW.
That was a great line. I love that line.
I know. I made sure to write that down as he said it because it was fantastic. Joe doesn't care if it's one or both of them in the ring on Sunday. He's going to kick both of their asses. Swerve chimes back in, saying that while he is the man who has come up to main events, pay-per-views, and has made it to the top of this business, he's also the man who made it out of the unemployment line, the man who broke into a wrestling school and bloodied an 18-year-old, and the man who broke into another man's house and threatened his infant son. And that will be the man who goes on to beat Samoa Joe and become the new AEW World Champion. Swerve then starts the Whose House, Swerve's House chant, and as he's doing it, Hangman Adam Page sneak attacks him from behind, absolutely laying into him with the crutch, hitting him across the back. He then, obviously revealing himself to be perfectly healthy in the process. Hangman then takes the top of the crutch and hits Swerve in the head with it, completely knocking him out. And Hangman starts screaming at Joe that neither Joe nor Swerve will be the AEW World Champion come Sunday, as Joe just waits at the top of the ramp and laughs at all of this.
You sneaky cowboy.
James, I really like this segment. I think, first of all, I thought they played off great of the mixed reporting throughout the week, having Hangman come out and announce he wasn't going to be in the match, much to the disappointment of everybody. I thought Swerve came off looking very face here, as we have, I think, now officially had.
But I liked it.
Yes.
Liked it. We'll talk about it. But
he's very close. He's very close. As we've almost completed the double turn now between him and Hangman. Joe, as you said, had that great line. He played his role perfectly. And as I said, Hangman very heelish here, attacking Swerve from behind. despite the fact he may have the a good reasoning behind it, as Swerve mentions going after his infant son again, he did lie to everybody and then blindside Swerve afterwards. And I think it's important to note that when Excalibur was doing his rundown of what's going to be on the pay-per-view later in the show, he did refer to Hangman as that liar, Hangman Adam Page. So, James, like I said, I love all of this. I think it sets us up perfectly for Sunday, and that double turn is almost there, if not completely done.
I mean, we're definitely halfway there. Hangman is 100% leaning into being a heel at this point. He's been crappy to his babyface teammates in RVD and Hook, like we saw last week. He's doing very underhanded tactics to get the upper hand on Swerve, as we saw the fake out with the injury and then attacking him while his back was turned with the crutch. This is an angry Hangman. As the segment was ending, he's yelling, screaming at Samoa Joe. You won't be champion. He won't be champion. I'll be champion. This is an aggressive, arrogant, not confident, arrogant Hangman Adam Page. And it's a scary but beautiful thing to see. I think all of his anger resides in his mustache. I'm very to see if they're able to shave him. How will he act? But we'll never know.
Couple other elite members that we could also try that on, so that it's not a single.
All their aggression is tied to their facial hair.
Yeah, obviously you need data when you perform an experiment, so at least 3 is a good starting point. I don't know what Kenny's doing right now.
Sir, when Kenny was the belt collector and he was at the peak of his evil powers, he had the Triple H.
He had the full-blown Fu Manchu. That's right.
Yeah.
So when the elite grow mustaches, they're evil. Okay.
They are not good guys.
We're on to something here.
I think so. But I very much enjoyed this segment. Samoa Joe delivering a great line. Kris in the comments saying they only care about Skye Blue's match tonight on AEW Dynamite. It was a good match.
It was a really good match.
It was a really good match. I think there was some other.
Out.
Yeah, I think there was some other great stuff, Kris, throughout the show, but that was certainly a highlight for tonight. But I thought Samoa Joe delivered an excellent line with the only reason you guys are so hungry is because I'm starving you. I thought that was excellent. And I thought Hangman really delivered on the Maniac aggressive character change. And Swerve is staying true to himself. I'm the guy that attacked that kid in that gym. I'm the guy who broke into a man's house and stalked his child, his infant child. He's not hiding the fact that he is a bad guy. But he's leaning into the fan support. The Swerve's house. The whose house?
Swerve's house.
He's leaning into it. So I think this is a great version of Joe as champion. I think this is a great version of Hangman as a challenger. And I think this is a great version of Swerve as a challenger. All 3 men looked great coming out of this segment, even if it was Hangman standing tall at the end of it.
Yeah. Also, I also think I love that the fact that we had a full-blown, they had us in the first half, not gonna lie, out of this segment. I bought Hangman for a sec. I wasn't sure through the whole week, and I turned on the show a little bit late, so I just saw him already in the ring, and I caught him say, I'm not going to be able to compete on Sunday, and I just went, fuck. And then Swerve came out and did the whole baby face thing, and then Joe said what I was just thinking. I was like, are these 2 guys who hate each other this much really going to kiss and make up here just because Hangman got hurt? And then, obviously, Hangman hit Swerve with the crutch, and everything was made instantly better.
Beautifully played. Kris in the comments saying, I like the Young Bucks, Darby Allin, Ric Flair, and Sting segment. It was an excellent main event segment. We're going to get into a little bit later, so stick with us, Kris. But I completely agree with you. I like that segment a lot.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of good segments tonight. I really can't complain about much of anything, especially this first one. Like I said, I think it perfectly set up Sunday's match. I'm even more hyped for it than I already was, because from the beginning of when this started, the dynamics have completely shifted. I think we all thought that Swerve was going to win, or there was a good chance he was going to win this title match. And I still think that, but I think now because he's more face than heel, the cheering is going to change. I think the way the match is going to go about has changed a lot. And it has made me more and more intrigued as we've gone on, because this is now the fourth match that Hangman and Swerve are going to have together. And obviously you throw Samoa Joe into the mix and your chances drastically go down. But I think it's going to create a much more interesting dynamic than we would have gotten had we kept the heel face dynamic we already had with Swerve and Hangman.
No, I completely agree. This is some of my favorite storylines are when the dynamic changes over time and when the characters' alignments not necessarily shift, but evolve. And I think this was a classic case of it so far. This has been an excellent story, basically from the Dynamite after Joe won the title.
Yeah. So, which is great.
We have in the comments Kris saying Swerve Strickland still wins the AEW World Championship this Sunday, pinning Adam Page. Anything is possible. I used to be very confident in a Swerve title win. I'm less confident now, but it's still very possible.
It's funny because we all thought Swerve was going to win the title because he's the hottest thing in the company. I think there's even a clip of me saying a couple of weeks ago, you got to put the title on him because of, recently AEW and Dynamite in general hasn't been coming off too great, as James has to go figure out what he's got to go figure out. They haven't been coming off amazingly, and putting the title on Swerve might help save a lot of that. But instead, I think now heel Hangman also might be hot enough where he is more than a viable choice to put the title on him.
Hangman?
Yes, heel Hangman. Yeah. Because even though Swerve was the hottest thing in the company, and he still is, a heel Hangman can catch fire really quick and get really good reactions, as we saw tonight. So I think that really opens up the door for Hangman, and we'll see what ends up happening.
No, I agree. And I'm very excited for this Sunday.
Yeah. All right, let's move along to a backstage interview with Nicholas and Matthew Jackson as they arrive at Dynamite earlier in the evening. And as they walk into the building, they are interviewed by Renee Paquette, who is looking absolutely phenomenal this evening.
Great outfit choice.
Right? Her hair, too. She just looked great.
Renee always looks amazing.
I know, but there was something about that outfit. The colors, everything. It looked great. Even though I had no idea what colors they were, they looked really good at her. Anyway, Renee asks the Jacksons about their meeting with Ric Flair last week, which Nicholas said went very well. Matthew then asks if she's seen Sting anywhere yet, because as it's Sting's final Dynamite, they want to conduct his exit interview, showing off the fact that they are brandishing their white baseball bats. Renee doesn't know where Sting is, so the Jacksons walk away, and they have their own camera crew that will be following throughout the rest of the evening. Is that a Twinkie?
Jelly finger cookie.
No. Kind of.
It was for my birthday.
Yes, it was James's birthday yesterday, so let's all wish him a happy birthday. James is now only 1 billion years old.
I have so many regrets.
You are 29. All right, let's move on. Next up, we had the Blackpool Combat Club, this time consisting of Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio Castagnoli, as I believe Wheeler Yuta is still hurt, unfortunately. And they were facing off against Eddie Kingston and FTR. Obviously, this was a mashup of two of the matches that would be happening at Revolution. Eddie is facing off against Bryan, FTR against Claudio and Moxley. And they all had a big brawl on Collision after Danielson beat a Japanese legend and then kicked him in the dick and pissed Eddie off. Yep. So anyway, let's head towards the end of this match where there were a couple of great false finishes. First, Dax breaking up a pin on Kingston after Bryan hit a corner drop kick. Claudio got him into the swing, and then Bryan ended the swing with a drop kick. And then Mox hit a pile driver onto Kingston. Like I said, Dax broke that up. And then we had Mox and Claudio breaking up the pin on Bryan after Kingston was able to hit a hurricane. And then FTR hit what basically amounts to like a Doomsday Bulldog. They don't really name it, but that's kind of what it looks like. Anyway, after that, all men were down, and they finally worked their way back up with Eddie and FTR gaining the advantage, pushing each individual member of their opponents. Kris saying happy birthday to James. And
thank you, Kris. Happy birthday to you, pal. Happy belated birthday.
With James June. Well, yeah, I guess what side of the calendar?
He said he turned 30. He's turning. All right, so yeah, happy soon-to-be birthday.
Yeah. As I was saying, Eddie and FTR got one of their opponents each into the corners and were hitting machine gun chops, but the BCC was then able to turn the tables, and they started delivering corner shots of their own. Mox and Claudio then tried to Irish whip FTR into each other, but they were able to reverse it and land right hands before hitting a shatter machine onto Claudio that sent him out of the ring. I'm not really entirely sure what happened to Moxley in the fray here, but he was also out of the ring as well. Dax then hit a brain buster on Bryan, and Eddie attempted a hurricane, but Bryan was able to duck it and hit a shoulder catcher suplex. Bryan then hits a Busaiku knee on Eddie, but instead of pinning him, Bryan then decides...
Eddie. I really like that. He hit it while Eddie was still on his knees. I thought that was a good touch.
Instead of pinning him, Bryan decides that he's going to kick his fucking head in, which he does pretty much to the point where Eddie is unconscious, and then Bryan locks in a triangle just to show off and officially put Eddie to sleep for the win.
I'm so mad. I'm so upset.
We'll get to what that means for Revolution in a second, but James, this is the third week in a row now where we've had some combination of FTR and the BCC face off against each other. Yep. And now you throw Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson into this match. And we continue to just have, as I keep saying, styles make fights. These are 6 really physical wrestlers who can do a multitude of things, but what they really like to do is throw hands and hit big punishing blows. And we saw that tonight in a match where I clearly think all 6 men were holding something back because they still have to face each other on Sunday.
I completely agree. So before I get into what tonight means for Sunday, this was a very well executed match. I thought the trios style was really well executed. I thought it was very well presented. And I'm sorry to FTR, but looking at the combination of Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Jon Moxley, those 3 men should never lose. If you put those 3 men on a team, they should never lose. I think you add Wheeler Yuta to the mix. They're going to lose more often than not. But when those 3 men are in trios matches, 12 world championships between them, I don't ever want to see those men lose. I was so happy with the outcome of this match on its own merit.
Yeah.
Bryan, go ahead.
I would say, just to your point, we always talk about how when tag teams face 2 singles wrestlers, the tag teams should win because they have more chemistry. Yes. And you can kind of extrapolate that to here, where these 3 guys in the BCC they're not always wrestling together, but they train together. They have the chemistry. So when they are a trio, they have much more chemistry than Eddie and FTR, where it was acknowledged on commentary, they don't run together and they don't run in similar circles, which Shivani saying, well, nobody runs with Eddie Kingston's circle. But you can see, like, even though there was some chemistry throughout the match between FTR and Eddie, clearly the Blackpool Combat Club's chemistry would supersede Eddie and FTR.
Mike in the comments saying, interesting chat. I want to say this. I think the BCC is bringing down AEW. And when you have me on here, I'd love to seriously explain why. Mike, we're looking forward to chatting with you sooner than later. I'm not sure how much I agree. I do think there is some level. I'm going to keep that up. I don't know why I took it down. I think there is some level of misuse. I don't think the BCC are being used to their full potential. I don't think they're quite serving AEW the way I think they're capable of. But I don't necessarily think they're bringing AEW down. I think when you have talent like Jon Moxley, who should always be a perennial world title contender, when you have Bryan Danielson, a guy who, again, we understand Bryan doesn't want to win the world championship, but he's a guy who should be consistently delivering marquee matches. And you have Claudio Castagnoli, who is quite possibly, pound for pound, not only one of the strongest wrestlers in the world, but one of the most talented wrestlers in the world. You expect him to always deliver bangers. So sometimes because of the level, to me, this is just my opinion, the level of their talent is almost a hindrance for storytelling. Because I don't, like I said in the beginning of this, the three of them as a team, I never want to see that trio lose. I'm a diehard Bryan Danielson fan. I will go to hell and back to defend that man as a wrestler. And I think he should be a multi-time world champion in AEW at this point. But I respect that he's not. Or he doesn't want to be. So I think the BCC could be offering a lot more if they were doing things like actually competing in the trios division, or if they were actively going for the tag team titles. But because they tend to just get brought into feuds with no real tangible victory token, whether it's a championship or not, it just feels like they're being squandered in a lot of ways. So I would love to continue that. Oh, we have another comment from you. I think the flip-flop between being heels and faces and confusing the audience, along with the 50-50 booking, ... Look, Eddie won the Triple Crown, right? He beat all three BCC members, so because of that, why doesn't he have Bryan's respect? They're all great wrestlers, but I think the booking and the idea to keep that name without Regal there and the concept is flawed. That's just my opinion. I very much respect that, Mike. The BCC name was always something we kind of debated once Regal left. Quite frankly, I think we kind of debated it when Regal was there in the first place because it was just about him. But I think them being heels is fine. I don't like how they're heels sometimes. These are four men whose entire gimmick, they value professional wrestling more than anyone else in the company, and they think they're the best professional wrestlers in the company. So I don't like seeing them cheat, which is something I think we see them do a little too often. I think we sometimes see them acting like thugs a little too often. But I don't necessarily mind them being the bad guys. But that's just me. Anything you want to add to that, Rev? I talked a lot.
Yeah, I think you pretty much got it.
We love our American Dragon here. We love our Claudio Castagnoli here, and we're very fond of our Jon Moxley here.
I guess just to get back to the match here, I am curious to see James. Mike is still in here.
No, I love it. I love the back and forth. Let's just finish this up and then we'll get back to the match.
Yep.
There's not one member from England in the group. I want to see Moxley and Bryan on their own. That's my opinion. And yes, I agree with you on the cheating and the thugs comment. I agree. I think they could stay as the BCC, but still have very singles focuses too. I think Bryan could, personally, if I had my way, Bryan would be winning the Continental Crown on Sunday, and Moxley would be going for probably the TNT title at this point, or at the very least, a tag team with Claudio. And Kris, Skye Blue, and Julia are really the future in AEW's women's division, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say they're both like under 25, so definitely. But yes, back to the match, James. As I was saying, you are really chomping at the bit here to discuss what you think this means for Sunday, especially for Bryan, because you are not happy about the results here tonight.
Bryan Danielson he had the opportunity to pin Eddie Kingston with that Busaiko knee. He kicked his head in like he said he would, and then he passed him out. Bryan could not have looked more dominant tonight, which is amazing for Wednesday nights. But it's terrible for Sunday nights because that means Bryan Danielson is going to lose at Revolution. That means Bryan Danielson is not going to be winning the title on Sunday. Apparently, all three titles are on the line. I don't know if you caught that. All three, the Ring of Honor, the New Japan Strong, and the Continental Crown are all on the line on Sunday, and Bryan's not going to win a single one of them simply because he won tonight so dominantly. I don't see them burying Eddie Kingston like that. So I'm going to hold on to this happy, warm feeling of the BCC winning this match, but I am not thrilled that Bryan is going to lose yet another title match against the guy he lost to in the Continental Classic to get to that title. He's already lost to Eddie within 2 months. I don't need another loss to Eddie, but alas, here we are.
Yeah. And I just want to get to Mike's final comment here. Thank you for your compliment, Mike, saying we have great delivery when discussing the pod. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
And we are also excited for this Sunday's pay-per-view and to have you on the pod as well.
Yes.
Guys, go check out Mike's channel. He does a lot of great wrestling stuff too, and we're going to cross over at some point with him, so be on the lookout for that. All right, let's move on next to a backstage interview real quick with Chris Jericho. He's facing Atlantis Jr. tonight, who is the son of one of his mentors from when he was in CMLL down in Mexico. Jericho ran down some of his history down there and how much he learned by being thrown in the deep end with Atlantis Sr. Before telling Atlantis Jr. that he's facing him to repay the favor and to teach him the way he was taught. We then go back to the ring for an interview with a returning Will Ospreay. Will is officially All Elite. We already knew that, but now he's finished up his obligations to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he had a nice little vacation in Barbados with the missus where he got pissed. So for those of you who don't speak British, he got drunk with his wife in Barbados. Anyway, Will reminds us that it is not his first time here, and he has already been to AEW and beaten Orange Cassidy, beaten Kenny Omega in Canada, and beaten Chris Jericho. He says that he's been great in AEW already, and since he's running with the Don Callis family, and then immediately as he says the name, that carny piece of shit takes that as his cue to enter the ring with the rest of the Don Callis family, and by rest of, I mean just Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs.
Kyle Fletcher is hurt.
Thank you. He did mention Kyle, though, while he was running down the names of the family, but I did want to bring up the fact that Kyle wasn't there because that would have been cool to see him with Ospreay again.
You have no idea how much it killed me, the entrance video, that, like, the Last Supper painting, Sammy is still in it, but Fletcher isn't in it.
Oh, somebody got to get on that Photoshop.
Oh, my, it's not that hard, guys. Just,
come
on.
Somebody on Reddit could, do something.
Easily. Just get rid of Sammy's head and just pop on Fletcher's.
Yeah. So that carny piece of shit, Don, is very happy that Ospreay brought up all the things that, quote unquote, they did together, saying the way that they're going to top all of those things is by having the match of the decade between Ospreay and Takeshita on Sunday. Callis goes against everybody, saying that he shouldn't have two family members fight, comparing it to Jordan going against Pippen in practice, and saying that no matter who wins, the Don Callis family wins in the end, and asks the two men who will be facing off to shake hands. Ospreay offers his hand first, and after a moment, Takeshita accepts it, and the two shake. And when Ospreay turns to go to leave, Takeshita pulls him back, and then Takeshita does the same thing. He goes to leave, and Ospreay pulls him back, and the two get in each other's faces before Don kind of settles everybody down, and everyone's able to smile and walk off. So, James, this was fine. I'm glad Will's back. Hooray. I'm super duper hyped. As we welcome in Matt Cascone to the podcast. Hey, Matt.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
We were just discussing Will Ospreay's return to AEW. I'll let you get your bearings and go to James first for a second here. Because, James, I'm happy to see Will. I'm really excited for this match, but I think realistically, we're all just kind of waiting for the shoe to drop and Will to turn on Don.
Or Don turning on Ospreay, because quite frankly, that's how every Don Callis interaction has gone. He betrayed Kenny. He betrayed Jericho inexplicably. It is still the dumbest booking that they could have done, but they did it. And now he's going to turn on Will. So, sure. Quite frankly, I'm just happy to see Don Callis involved in a storyline that doesn't have a Canadian in it. So, Will is... I am so excited for this new era. I really wanted to talk about it. This is an important episode of Dynamite, in my opinion, and I think in years' time we're going to think back on this specific episode of Dynamite. Last episode, first thing, the first real episode of the Will Ospreay era. People are going to look back on this time and think, wow, they were on Dynamite at the same time, Sting and Ospreay, and this is going to be it. So I think I mean it when I say this is going to be an era-defining kind of episode. Not in terms of necessarily the quality, because I do think while this was a great episode, it's more about the historical significance.
It's almost a prologue to the next era of AEW.
Yes. Yeah. I'm excited as I am for Sunday because I think we're in line for a great pay-per-view. I'm more excited for next week's Dynamite because that's going to really feel like we're in that new era. So, I love seeing Will there. I'm super excited for Will to take over here in Dynamite. I know a lot of people had lofty expectations. How did that happen? There you go.
I did it.
Lofty expectations of Jay White. I think Jay still has a very bright future in AEW. But I think Ospreay is going to see an immediate level of success that Jay didn't necessarily achieve yet. I think he's going to see a level of success that a lot of guys that were signing into AEW were hoping they would get as soon as they signed and as soon as they got their, they got the ground under them running. I think Will is capable of it, and I think they're smart enough to book him that way. So let's see how that goes. I think this match with Takeshita is going to be just incredible.
This is stealing the show on Sunday.
I think so too. I don't even know if it's a show stealer. I think it's just this is the crown jewel match that we should all expect it to be.
Yeah.
Wrestling
wise, yes.
Yeah, there's no question. Yes, Sting, obviously. But in terms of pure wrestling, this is it.
I think it's this and the BCC versus FTR.
I'm kind of really excited for Bryan versus Eddie just because
that's going to be low-key great too, but
yeah. But no, just excellent stuff, and I'm so excited to see it. Just to go on to this a little bit, I love Takeshita having a little bit of an edge in this. I loved him holding on to Ospreay's hand. I loved him saying, "I'm going to beat you." And I think if there's any talent in AEW right now that could give Will a run for his money in terms of just pure raw talent, I think it's Takeshita. So very excited, very, 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 very excited for this matchup. And I am very burnt out on the Don Callis family, but I will put that aside for this matchup.
Yeah, I found it kind of funny, like Will, making his re-debut, for lack of a better phrase, and he was almost kind of a little happy-go-lucky, just, I'm happy to be here, oh, shucks, guys, while still, like, borderline cursing British style. But Takeshita, he is clearly laser-focused. He's definitely going to be the heel in this match, and he wants to, obviously Will wants to win here, but he almost needs this one more than Will, because Will has proven himself both around the world and in AEW. Takeshita hasn't proven himself too much in either scenario. So I think that's going to be very important for him.
Matt, I want you to go, but I just got to address that real quick. I agree that Takeshita definitely needs it because he needs to establish himself as a top talent outside of Jericho and Kenny. But Ospreay, like I wasn't just kissing his ass. I think he is quite possibly the best talent in AEW right now.
He might be the best talent on the planet. I mean, you can make that argument.
It's a very good argument. But while he talked about it in his promo, like, and you acknowledge he's been here before. He's beaten Jericho. He's beaten Kenny. He's beaten Orange Cassidy. This is really it now. This is the beginning. For a lot of people that might actually be finally paying attention to Ospreay, or finally getting exposed to him in a real way, this is the beginning of his AEW run. I would start strong with a win. Have him win, and have Takeshita and the Callis family beat him down afterwards. Because that's not the outcome Callis wanted. But this isn't our prediction show, so I apologize. But no matter what, banger.
Yeah.
So...
And also, what I was saying about proving yourself, I was thinking more of that in kayfabe than, actually on the thing. Because for me, Matt, I am an early member of the Takeshita fan club. I
you really did. I got to give it to you.
The first match he had in AEW, I was like, this guy is fucking amazing.
He was pulling the reins on that bandwagon before anybody else.
So I don't know your thoughts about Takeshita, Matt, but what do you think about this whole segment leading into Takeshita versus Ospreay on Sunday?
So I definitely have some thoughts. Just I want to be transparent. I ended up watching Dynamite late tonight. So the first thing I saw was the women's match. So I did miss this segment, but I still have some thoughts. I agree with James that the Don Callis family kind of has lost some steam. I think the whole thing of Sammy joining them was great, but then like getting injured and coming back as face. I hate when they do a flip-flop like that, but we'll see how that goes. And I am on the Takeshita train. I mean, I've been a little bit, I haven't been keeping up with AEW the past month, but I was at their first show of the new year in Jersey. And that was the match where Takeshita took on Darby Allin. And it was effing nuts. And it was like match of the night. And being there, I had COVID. I didn't know at the time. But I was like kind of feeling like I was there covering his press, and I was just kind of like woozy, had a mask on, had taken a test before I went because, trying to be responsible. And I had a negative test. So I'm like, I think I'm good to go. That was basically the only thing I remember from that night was that and the Christian segment. So Takeshita F's, man. Can I say the F word?
You can fucking say whatever you want.
Yeah, bring it in. This is going to be a clip. Takeshita fucks. So definitely really looking forward to him versus Ospreay. I think if you don't really know, if you're not in the know with those two guys and you like actually pay attention and watch the match, I think you're going to be like, hey, I'm on board with this. Like, that's my prediction. Can't wait.
Yeah, I am super, super excited for them. Honestly, I think it's the match I'm most looking forward to on Sunday. And I'm putting Sting's match in an entire different category because it's Sting. And obviously, that's going to be very emotional and very good.
It's Sting! That's how you got to do it.
I thought you were going to like, it's not in a different category. I was like, yes, it is. But no, you're right. It's Sting. But I outside of Sting's retirement match, this is the match I'm most looking forward to. These are two, I think, of the top talents in the world. And I know Takeshita hasn't really proven himself to be there yet overall. But like you said, James, you can make that argument that he's up there and pound for pound, one of the most talented guys in the company. And I just, it's so tantalizing. Like, it's going to be so motherfucking good. I'm so excited. All right. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to use the appearance of Powerhouse Hobbs to discuss something that James is so disappointed in and is the explanation for his lower third. And that is due to just a vast array of injuries. Tony Khan had to cancel Meat Madness on Sunday. It has been replaced with an all-star, I think, 6-way match. There's some qualifying coming up for it.
8-way.
8-way, excuse me. I can't tell if he's crying or choking on his cookie or both. Yes, there's some qualifying coming up. But obviously, James, this is incredibly disappointing. We all wanted to see this. And while I think we're going to still get a pretty decent showcase match out of it, it's not going to have the palm circumstance or fun that Meat Madness would have had.
I just don't understand. The 3 men that they advertised for this match were Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, and Wardlow. And all 3 of those men are in this all-star showcase. And they added Brian Cage. That's a lot of meat. Why can't I have it?
I'm trying to think of how many they were going for that I feel like they could have gotten there. I don't know. What happened to Ishii? You could have left him in there.
I know Miro doesn't always like to work, but you don't have to take a pin in that match, man. Get in that match.
It's true.
I am devastated. I bought a t-shirt for the occasion. It's the audacity to offer it to me. Who got injured that wasn't announced for this match?
I'm confused now too.
Like, were they hoping Keith Lee would be back and he couldn't come back fast enough? Why did you announce this match a week ago when no one changed. I don't get it. I'm sad. Quite frankly, I'm mad and confused. I kind of blame Tony Khan. I have an unreasonable anger towards Tony Khan right now. And
I think you just went through like 4 of the 7 great stages of grief in like 30 seconds.
I think
I'm going to keep circling back. But what were you saying, Matt?
I think they're all valid emotions that you're having. I mean, I heard there was like an injury, and I figured one of those 3 guys is injured. And you're telling me, no, all 3 are good. Was there not enough meat? Like, did they not think this was going to deliver? So that and they made a quick change. I'm very much, again, and it's not just because I missed the first hour of Dynamite. I am very much confused. I am so confused.
One of the big complaints about AEW apparently recently from fans is that AEW doesn't feel as fun as it did in the early years. I forget where I read it, but like it was one of those things that was written into a publication. And I had to think about that. And to an extent, it's true. We had parking lot brawls. We had what was that orange drink match that Cassidy?
It was the champagne. Had? It was basically a mimosa match because Jericho champagne orange.
The Mimosa Mayhem match.
Yes.
We had so many fun matches back then that didn't lights out matches. I agree. But I kind of don't want them to just happen. They need to be there for a reason, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
or even think like when Miro and Kip Sabian faced off against was it Best Friends or like some combination
in the arcade
brawl.
Anarchy in the arcade match or whatever it was. Not every match needs to be super serious, and not every match needs to mean something. Like a mimosa match.
Why?
Oh, so they put Hook and Jericho in. I hope they just get dumped real quick. And then I think Penta, Bounty Hunter, Brian Keith, and one of the I think it's Dante Martin are in like a qualifying match this at some point.
I'm rooting for Bandit Keith. That's who I'm rooting for.
I'm a huge fan of him.
That's for all the Yu-Gi-Oh fans.
Yeah, I knew what
Bandit
that was.
Keith, let's go.
I'm still very much on board for I want a Hangman, Bounty Hunter, Keith, and Bandito, the good, the bad, and the masked trio. I think the money is there, but I'm very sad. I feel like a Meat Madness match would have been the type of fun that we were looking for. Why would you announce it? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but I got to get past it.
It doesn't.
I don't think my heart can take it.
But
don't announce a match if you don't know that you have the talent for the match.
Yeah.
I think there's guys that you could add to the match. Jericho and Hook wouldn't be the guys I would go to. I think Big Bill, Brian Cage. Like they could have even been like, it's these 3 guys, and then just like done the black silhouettes of like who else will join the meat madness.
2-piece last week ran down like 14 guys in the comments for us.
I'm not mad at them having to pivot. I'm mad at them announcing a match that they clearly didn't have the talent for. That's what's upsetting to me.
I'm just generally confused. Is honestly,
I don't get it.
But and you shouldn't make your audience confused. Like, that's bad.
Well, I mean, Tony announced it on Twitter, and I'll give him credit for that. The match had to go on ice because the talent that they wanted to have in the match got injured. I can respect that. Shit happens. That's not where my problem is. Which
talent, though?
We don't know, but that's not the point. They weren't announced for it. But my point is, don't announce it. Like, clearly, those talent weren't ever going to be cleared for it if they didn't announce them in the first place. So why would you announce the match? If there was a question as to why, if they could make it or not, don't announce it until you know. Because now this match just feels lesser to me.
Yeah,
that's at least it's something they can always come back to. I mean, there's times where like a match has been announced and it doesn't happen, and I'm super disappointed. Like last pay-per-view with who was it? I'm about to mix up names here, but Keith Lee and Shane Strickland. Like that not having that match there to me was a big disappointment, and it's something it'll take a while for them to circle back. We could have a Meat Madness match at the next pay-per-view and it would be fine. You know what I mean? It would be like no harm, no foul, unless, and this won't happen, but unless by some, act of God, WWE decides to do like that kind of match the night after WrestleMania and Big E comes back. You know what I mean? Like, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, Eric
to address
brings up
Eric's comments.
It's a decent point. You can put it back up, James. Yeah, they did announce it, now, and that match it wasn't weeks ago. It was months ago. That was at All Out. So he's got a point, but meat is always hot. Like, people still love it.
Meat is always on the menu, boys.
That's what I was going to say.
Whatever. Can we move on? I'm mad.
Yeah, I agree. Really briefly, James, just to address the fact, back what you were saying, we're like, AEW doesn't feel as fun as it used to. I do think a big part of that is they're no longer at Daly's place, and they don't have the room with the crowds again. So I think they kind of got limited in what they can do sometimes. I think that's part of it. They had literally so much room for activities and so much room for creativity while they were there that it allowed for a very unique time in wrestling that I'm not sure we'll ever get back to.
Yeah.
But let's move on, where we had what was supposed to be a backstage interview with Eddie Kingston, and Renee asked him about the disrespect he was shown before his match on Sunday by Bryan Danielson. However, the Young Bucks again interrupt, and they're still looking for Sting. Eddie and Renee don't know where the hell Sting is, so Nicholas decides to take the opportunity to chide Eddie about his comments from a few weeks ago about the Bucks, saying the next time he talks shit about them, it's going to be a fine. Matthew apologizes again for his hot-headed brother, and then asks Eddie if he could maybe be a little bit more presentable. He's a champion. Maybe show up in something nicer than a sweatshirt and Tim's, which, I don't know, sounds pretty presentable to me.
I agree.
I have mixed feelings on that. I'll get to it.
Matthew then ponders instituting a dress code before the Bucks get back on track and go looking for Sting again. And I think Renee made a joke to Eddie about buying some nicer Timbs. I'm not sure if she said like Louboutin or something like that. Yeah. But she did make a crack at him about buying nicer Timbs, and he just looked at her like, I can't afford those. Matt, are you really going to try to come out here and tell people from the Bronx that a sweatshirt and Timbs isn't nice enough for a champion?
I will say, if it's just a backstage segment, by all means, Eddie Kingston, wear whatever you want. But recently, he had an action figure come out. It was from the Anarchy in the Arena match. And if you remember, he was very bloody and he had the gas tank. Yeah, and he was wearing a Yankees shirt. And when you have to if you want to make merch off that, the t-shirt, they had to change it to like his name in the Yankees font. All the pictures on the box art, they had to completely omit the logo. So it's like, you got to think, like, from a business standpoint, like, do you like wearing Yankees apparel and your favorite t-shirt?
Yes.
Well, yes, I'm all for the Mets as well. But do you like wearing your favorite apparel from your favorite sports team? Yeah, I totally get that, for sure. But also, you're in a business setting, and we like that Eddie Kingston is so real. But when it comes to matches, just wear your gear or wear stuff that is inspired by the Yankees. That would be cool. That's thinking. And that also makes it easier for everybody in the business.
Respectfully.
What the hell did you do when John Cena was wearing jerseys every week?
Thank you.
He didn't wrestle in them. He did not wrestle in them.
He came out in them. And two, WWE made when he came out in the Babe Ruth Yankee jersey. They made a figure for that. So also, just got to say it too. I am very clearly a figure collector. Very clearly, I got him. You don't need a figure from every event. If it was that much of a trouble to deal with the licensing of that figure because of what he was wearing, just don't make the figure. There's two other.
It's iconic for him. It was an iconic
I
moment.
didn't even remember it until you told me what he was wearing. Rev, did you remember the Yankee jersey until he brought it up?
It wasn't a jersey. It was just a T-shirt. I thought he had the hat on, but either way, he's wearing a Yankee hat half the time anyway.
The biggest problem with any Eddie Kingston figure is that they don't really look like Eddie.
There you go. James
I don't have an Eddie Kingston figure to show you. But
now we got a filibuster for James to find this. But I don't. That stuff doesn't really bother me. The Tim track was kind of funny. Like obviously the Bucks just became heel in the entirety of the Bronx. As a
graphic designer and someone who wants to see Eddie Kingston like succeed and get to the highest point possible,
My cat knocked him down, so I can't find him.
It's all right. It's all right. It's just like it's a small gripe, but again, I want to see Eddie Kingston. I don't want anything to deter Eddie Kingston from succeeding. So
don't think the Yankee fit is going to do that. Also, Matt just turned heel so hard. All right.
I just want to address it because I don't want Matt to think we're disregarding him. I think there are just so many wrestlers who come out in sports jerseys that I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like he has his gear that he wrestles in that is very clearly not sports oriented. The black and yellow, I think that's his look. That's his iconic Eddie look. I'm not saying that the Yankee outfit wasn't iconic for him, but it's not what I think of when I think of Eddie. So if they need him on the night that he's going to win a world title, when, not if, to wear the black and yellow instead of wearing a Yankee outfit, I'm sure they can make that happen. Yeah, so it's not going to be a big deal.
He also very rarely wrestles in street clothes. I think it was just a one time because it was the Anarchy in the Arena match. He almost always wears that, the singlet. So,
but I'm just saying,
I wouldn't worry about it for too many.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it, but it was just an observation, is all.
All right. Well,
never again. All
right,
moving on.
Yep, let's go on to Orange Cassidy against Nick Wayne for the AEW International Championship. This match was we had a great ref toss though by Bryce Remsburg right before commercial because Christian pushed Orange off the top turnbuckle and Bryce missed it. But when he turned around, he was like he fell and then he looked. I wasn't sure if he was looking at the timekeeper area or the fans, but all you could hear was the fans yelling at him to throw Christian out, and he was like, all right, and he threw out Christian, Kill Switch, and Mama Wayne, and it was just, I don't know, it was just really, really funny. Anyway, towards the end of the match, after Nick Wayne was able to kick out of a beach break, Orange Cassidy got distracted by the Kingdom coming out of the crowd, and he got shoved into the turnbuckle by Wayne, and then hit with a dragon suplex that he was able to kick out of. Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero then make their return from injury after they'd been getting their shit kicked in by the Undisputed Kingdom over the last few weeks. Evening the odds against the Kingdom, and Wayne was able to use that distraction to remove the top turnbuckle on the other side of the ring. However, as he does so, he gets distracted by Daniel Garcia, who obviously is facing off against Christian Cage for the TNT Championship on Sunday. Garcia had made his way ringside, and him and Wayne start jaw-jacking, and by the time Wayne turns around, Orange Cassidy has recovered, and he comes in, lands an orange punch for the win. Right after the bell rings, Roderick Strong just comes in out of fucking nowhere and jumps Orange, and he starts laying in right hands until Trent and Rocky realize what's going on and get back into ring to drive him away. As they head into the back, Garcia and Daddy Magic start shit-talking with the Undisputed Kingdom, and we get a shot back in the ring of Orange Cassidy grabbing at his back, as Nick Wayne had worked it over quite a bit during the match. A lot of dragon suplexes, backbreakers, and the like. Matt, you didn't see this match, so I will do my best to carry until James comes back in a second. But I thought it was okay. There's James. I thought this match was okay. It was kind of weird. Oh, James found the action figure. Yeah, that doesn't look like Eddie.
Yeah, not really. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't really look like Eddie.
Yeah.
He needed a lighter beard. Beard's way too dark.
There's a lot more salt in his beard than pepper at this point. Looks good on him, though. But James, as I was saying, this international championship match, it was weird that it was booked in the first place.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it.
Although I guess it did kind of allow them to set up for both the TNT and international championship matches on Sunday with the involvement of Christian, of Garcia, and obviously of Roderick Strong there at the end. The match itself was fine. I didn't care for it too much. Nothing bad about it. Just
I thought there were some nice spots here. I thought Nick Wayne got to show off a little bit with some of his high flying. I thought the moonsault to the outside was very good. I thought the unalive dive that he hit to Orange over the corner. I'm putting that on a fucking t-shirt, by the way. Unalive dive.
That took me a hot second. I was like, what is he talking about?
What about windmill clothesline? Are we gonna do that too?
I mean, we could do that one too. We're going to expand here at the Market Down podcast. But regardless, I thought he did get to show off a little bit more than he usually does. Nick's big thing is that he gets to sell very well for a lot of people. But as great as that can be, you don't want to be Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a guy who's only known for selling. So let the guy show off too. And I thought Orange has always been a very giving opponent. He's always been a very supportive opponent and making sure his opponents look good. So I think Orange was a great guy to help Nick sort of advance a little bit in the eyes of the audience. So good showing. Again, the match itself wasn't amazing, but I think you hit the nail on the head that they accomplished a lot in one match. They moved forward the TNT title story with Daniel Garcia and Christian Cage. They moved forward the international title scene with Roderick, who is just such an asshole. He's so good, but he's such a dick. And they let Nick Wayne shine a little bit too. And if this is Orange's last title defense before he loses it, I think he accomplished a lot.
Yeah. I also wouldn't be shocked if we got Trent and Rocky against the Kingdom in a pre-show match on Sunday. Would not surprise me. But Matt, this kind of almost harkened back to when they started AEW, and they did this a lot, I guess, more recently with guys like Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, where they would put these younger talents up against obviously well-established stars and make them look good. You know, maybe even almost get a win. And then obviously they end up losing, but they look very solid in defeat. And I think that matchup kind of did this to an extent as well.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. Definitely looking forward to what Daniel Garcia brings to the table on Sunday. And I mean, come on, Wheeler Yuta, like, what was that? What was that, James? You were like, you popped.
No, something else. I'm sorry. I think Eric got Sweet Cheeks to do the pod.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice. All right, cool.
Producer boy.
To be continued. We'll see
We're gonna see
where
him.
that takes it.
We'll see him on Saturday. I think he's facing off against Danhausen at House of Glory.
Yes, he is.
Danhausen.
Yeah. So what was I saying?
Ring of Honor talent, damn.
I mean, Wheeler Yuta, had like an absolute, career highlight with I was about to say Dean Ambrose with Jon Moxley on Dynamite. So, always good to showcase the younger talent, and you never know when someone's gonna squeak out a win. I mean, come on, we got Ray Phoenix with a singles title win in AEW. I mean, obviously we understand what the circumstances were, but anything can happen.
That was a weird night. A weird night.
Very strange being there in person.
A little more akin to this match, we saw Action Andretti in his debut essentially beat Chris Jericho.
Who?
Younger.
Not for a title, but yeah, still.
But a younger talent.
Yeah.
But I was thinking just more of like younger talents going against established veterans. Anything can happen, Usually these are matches to help build the recognition of these younger talents, even though they lose. But you did see in that one instance a younger talent win and get a very big first strong win in his first appearance in AEW. So I do think I do think they utilize their younger talent well in these instances. I just wish there was like a little bit more to this match behind it, but the match is like I said, and like James said, the match was fine, and they accomplished a lot within it. So I think it did a very good job setting up for Sunday.
As far as Garcia goes, I mean, he could have a really great match, and it could be akin to the first time that the Acclaimed had their tag title match with Shane Strickland and Keith Lee. I mean, like that kind of
Strickland.
he goes by Shane. I mean, he's still Shane Strickland. Shane Swerve Strickland. It's still him.
He's just Swerve. Whose house? I'm being pedantic.
Matt, you're not wrong on this one.
I'm being pedantic.
It's just like let me name a bunch of names off really, really fast after a few drinks, and it's like, God damn it, don't get tongue tied.
No, you're fine.
On a Wednesday, nice.
I don't want to hear it from
I
you.
said nice. Dude, after the pod, after every pod, I open a beer. Like, stop. All right. Let's not get bogged down. And move on to
what's next?
It was a backstage interview with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. They had a big win on Collision, and Jay White has gotten past his apprehensions about the group, saying now that they're all on the same page after a couple of false starts, he's now completely in. Austin Gunn then suggests a match of himself and the Acclaimed on Collision, but nobody really likes that idea. And then Anthony Bowens suggests a match of the Acclaimed and Austin Gunn, and everybody's really into it, so they'll be having that match on Collision. White then hits the Everybody Loves the Acclaimed Bang Bang to punctuate.
I hear it. Stop it. It's making my teeth chatter. Whoever's doing it.
To punctuate the segment, much to the delight of Bowens, who's like, "You did it. It was great. It was perfect." This was like 45 seconds of amazingness. I loved all of it.
I'm amazed how much I like this segment more than I disliked the last segment.
Yeah.
Like, I really did not like the last segment that they did. Or the in-ring segment that they did.
As a group, you mean?
Oh, see, all right. So that all right. I could have swore one of you guys was chomping at a scissor. That literally, it was making my teeth grind.
Producer boy with the scissor soundbite.
I really enjoyed this. They're playing to certain guys' strengths a little bit more, but it's like we were talking about an earlier segment with Will Ospreay and Takeshita and Don Callis. We're all just waiting for that other shoe to drop. So, what, Matt? Go for it.
I actually did catch this. So I know I said the women's match was the first thing I caught. I actually did catch this and thought it was very funny. I think it's hilarious how Austin Gunn has kind of become the lame duck of the family. Like, he's the shortest. He's the one with the worst hairline, but he's lovable the same.
And he's the only one without a nickname.
Yeah, you know what? He doesn't need one. He's great. Like, so I really hope this continues, but then also that he has the chance to really showcase himself and like what he brings to the table. So very fun segment, silly, inoffensive. How could you not like this? It's all good here.
Yeah, I think they really solved the chaotic problem they had last week with everybody talking over each other, and it was really difficult to figure out what they were doing. We still had that banter in between what people were saying, but everybody stopped to listen when the main person was speaking, and I think that made it a lot better. And what you said, Matt, with Austin, I love this gimmick out of him, where everybody just thinks he's dumb and ignores him, and then the next person says the same thing, and it's a great idea. And he's just like, "Oh, okay, awesome." It's I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think this is one of the funniest, like, small things they've done on the show in a while.
Austin, I guess I'll just go fuck myself, Gunn.
Yeah, pretty fucking much.
What's this tweet say? Jay White could easily be the top heel in all of wrestling, but Tony Khan has him out here scissoring dudes with a comedy tag team. I remember thinking AEW is a better fit for him, but damn, I don't think WWE would have had him doing anything close to this shit. Yeah, no, he would have been losing to The Miz. Look, I agree Jay White should be doing more. But Jay White is involved with one of the most over acts in the company. Jay White holds a championship right now. And Jay White, it's only a matter of...
We can't read that, producer boy.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time before Jay White wins a singles title. So I truly mean this. I think Jay White needed to get more comfortable with the audience a little bit. And not that he needed to, but I think the audience needed to get a little more comfortable with him. And Bullet Club Gold is over. Even when they were purely a heel act, people are into Bullet Club Gold. They love Jay. They love the guns now, which is one of the biggest accomplishments you could have in AEW right now. And they love Juice. They got cardboard over. They got a cardboard cutout over. And that's because of how good, 2 different times. That's how good Jay White is. So I'm not worried about him. And in WWE, he's not the one going over Seth. He's not the one going over Roman. He's going to be in the middle of the pack just like everybody else. Maybe he's one of Gunther's losses. But no, Jay left New Japan at a very rough time. I really wish Drew Gruen was here for this because he would have gotten into it with me. But he left New Japan at the right time for him to leave New Japan, but he entered the free agency market at a time where it was packed to the gills from the top. So I feel for him because he is better than what he's doing, but I couldn't tell you what he could be doing right now. If he's in AEW, have him be the guy to take the title off Orange, probably. That's probably what it should be.
Yeah.
But I get needing to put a rub on the friggin' Undisputed Kingdom too. It's just bad timing for Jay White.
At the same time, he also got it. He was in the world title picture, and unfortunately, like from what I saw, the response to that, like, didn't that pay-per-view not get a lot of buys, or like there wasn't a lot of investment in that program?
I think people liked the program. The match itself was pretty heavily panned due to the fact that MJF had injured his leg earlier in the night, defending, I think, the Ring of Honor tag title, and then still went on
kayfabe.
And then still went on to beat Jay White. And a lot of people were like,
it made him look bad. Yeah.
But I think during the program itself, leading up to that match, I thought a lot of people liked it. Jay carrying around the title, he looked great with the AEW championship. And while he wasn't the champ, he got to carry himself as such for, almost a month. So I thought that did him really well. And then once they had that match, I think it kind of put him back down a little bit. And they've been trying to build him back since. So I also think the injury to Juice hasn't helped, but putting them with the Acclaimed, I think, has been very good for them in the short term.
I think this has been a good reset. I'm actually surprised it's still going. I thought this was going to be dealt with at Revolution. I thought we were going to get a pay-per-view match out of this, but I guess not.
Hey, look, it's been fun so far from what I've seen on Dynamite. Obviously, most of the stuff is either happening on Rampage or Collision, but I'm enjoying it. So ride it until you got a good spot for Jay. Yeah. And then wrap it up and put him, near the top of the card or in a title belt contention.
As much as we crap on a lot of other talent in AEW for how they handle themselves, whether it was Andrade before he left or Miro currently, or the rumors surrounding Malachi Black, Jay's being used weekly on multiple shows.
Haven't heard a word.
And he did solid in that tournament as well. I mean,
he was one of the leaders in that tournament. So good point.
Beat Mox. He beat Mox.
Yeah.
So
you want to bitch and complain about like he's not doing well. He was in that triple threat for the finals of the Gold League. So shut the fuck up.
Not you, producer boy, but everyone complaining online.
Yes, the royal you. All right, let's move on to the next match, which saw Kris Statlander face off against Skye Blue, and what I thought was one of the best matches of the night. This match was really good. It was actually really hard hitting. Both of these women really came to play tonight. I think they have very good chemistry. Maybe that's because they're friendly or whatever, but they were hitting some crazy moves. Stat hit, I think, a suplex on the apron. She pressed Skye Blue and threw her into the crowd, into a bunch of fans in the front row over the barricade. Skye hit an insane Canadian Destroyer towards the end of the match. I will then jump, I think, right after that, and there's Skye being thrown into the crowd.
Let's see it again.
Yeah. We also had Statlander hit a Michinoku driver, I believe it was, that Skye Blue was able to kick out of. and Statlander was so shocked that she backed up towards the ropes. Statlander, who had Stokely Hathaway and Willow Nightingale out there with her, had Stokely come around, and Stokely continues to try to recruit her to be and let him be her manager. Stokely tries to hand Statlander a chain, and Statlander just turns around and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Nightingale is like, "No, don't take it, don't take it, don't take it." And using the distraction, Sky Blue attempted to attack Statlander. However, Statlander was able to lay in a punch to give her a second and then turn back around to yell at Stokely. All of this commotion distracted the referee, and that allowed Julia Hart, who was out with Sky Blue, to jump into the ring, hit Statlander with her TBS championship, and then jump back out. Sky Blue hit a code blue and was able to pick up the win. So, Matt, like I said, I love this match. This was great. It was maybe match of the night. It was between this and the men's tag earlier in the night. Everything about this was great. And I just want to throw in before I throw to you, fucking Julia Hart's hat is awesome. It's got all the title plates on the underside of the brim, and it looks fantastic. Whoever made that, 10 out of 10, no notes. But, Matt, I think you were as excited about this match as I was.
Yeah, first off, I missed the hat. I've enjoyed her hats in the past. I'm going to have to go back and look at this new hat. Second, I met Willow after the NYWC show on Saturday. Great to see her tonight. I will tell you, she is as delightful in real life as she is on TV. And this was a kick-ass match. Like, oh my God, love it. Just keep bringing me shit like this, and I'm a happy man. I also like you talked about a Kris Statlander after the Michinoku driver. Try saying that 3 times fast. When she like backed up into the corner and like she was kind of shocked. She didn't oversell it. Like, there's always that, that meme about Ruby Soho, and like she had a similar spot and like she sold it like, she saw Jesus Christ come back to life. It's like, okay, calm down. It's just a wrestling match. So yeah, like that was a great spot. I think it worked really well, and she sold it. What's the word? Appropriately.
Yeah,
so,
because it wasn't her finisher, but it was still a very powerful move. So I think she showed it the right amount.
And just hit all the bells and whistles, man. Like, goddamn, I love it.
Yeah, I'm trying to restrain myself from that level of enthusiasm just because I'm trying to host the show. But yes, Kris back in the chat.
No. Go wild, go crazy. I did the inverse of the Jersey Shore opening, but get crazy, get wild. Do it. I want to hear you. Go hype. I'll take over. So, Nick, what did you think of this matchup? Were you as hyped as Matt was?
I said this match was fucking awesome. They hit some unbelievable spots, like Matt's saying. It hit, all of the right notes here. It wasn't in the time slot of death, which was great, and I think part of that was because of the way the show was structured. But it was also on in a good spot on the card. There was enough time between Cassidy and Nick Wayne, which was a good match, but not too crazy, although the end really got the crowd into it with all the interferences and stuff. So the crowd had a lot of energy for it. And like I said before, these two women absolutely fucking brought it. I don't know what it is about them and their chemistry, but they have, really good chemistry together, almost great. They really laid in some big shots, especially those destroyers. And James, I can't say enough about how good this match was, especially on a show where we didn't have the women's world champion on the show.
I know.
We didn't have the number one contender on the show. This was the women's segment. And, as this tweet is saying, and with Statlander being one of the most consistent people on the roster, yeah, she is. She's one of the best. And you saw it again here tonight.
No, absolutely. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just saying, don't sleep on Sky Blue either. I honestly,
absolutely.
I want to see her become I would honestly rather see her be champion than Julia Hart. I think we're getting to that. I think we're getting to that.
I think we'll, maybe at some point, but right now, I think Julia is doing a great job in her role as TBS champion. So, and she's probably the best part about the House of Black at the moment. So, here's that destroyer. I mean, look at this.
Yes.
There was some extra stank on it at the end too, which I really appreciated.
And I understand a lot of that is Kris Statlander, but I just still looked amazing.
It takes 2 to tango.
Especially with that one.
And I know it's mostly on the taker to put that move over, but no, it takes 2 for that. And I was joking about being upset with Matt for what he was saying, but Skye has grown so much. And I've talked about it when I was covering Ring of Honor on here frequently. I talked about the fact that Skye Blue was cutting her teeth in Ring of Honor, and she was getting better and better with every weekly appearance. She was getting the wins there. She was putting in the work. Jesus. Comment.
Don't even acknowledge.
I'm not going to.
Bonk.
But she has gotten so much better. She put in the work, and it's really paid off, and it's really apparent. And if you're a fan of hers, you should be proud. You should be proud of how far she's come. That's fair. That's fair.
That would hurt.
Matt, it said, imagine paying a ticket to have Skye Blue land on you. Which I get.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
But there's a souvenir for a lucky fan.
Because I'd be like this the whole time. It's like, look at my hats.
Okay.
Oh.
So I'm going to be cool.
Was it a horny bonk? The comment?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
Producer boy getting bonked in the comments.
But Julia Hart has grown so much. She really found herself with this gimmick. She has really worked her way into this title reign. And again, proud to be a fan of hers and all she's accomplished. Statlander, I want her to be the one to take the title off of Athena in Ring of Honor, quite frankly. And we love Willow. Willow's great.
One of my favorites.
And I will say, I know a lot of us were very about Stokely in AEW. I think Stokely's running Ring of Honor as like the guy in charge at Ring of Honor has done wonders for him. And I think she's going to beat Cargill. Yeah, no. I lost to you 3 times, but I'm not going to. Oh, I lost to you 4 times.
Oh, I thought he meant Statlander.
No, he was talking about Willow.
Yeah.
But man, I think this was a great showcase for how far almost everyone involved has come. And Skye Blue looked good with that win. And granted, they still protected Stat. She was distracted.
Absolutely.
So I think everybody came out looking great in this matchup.
Yeah, and I think that was the important thing where they were able to protect her. But Stokely, I think, has had a great run recently, even on Dynamite, where he's working with Willow. He's finally convinced her to allow him to be her manager. And he is cheating for her, even if she doesn't know it. I think we saw that last week or 2 weeks ago, where Stokely was able to cheat for her and Willow won the match. And she had no idea because of all the distractions. And now we see this week, he's still trying to recruit Statlander, and he's still the bad guy. He's still trying to be heel with this chain. And this time it ends up costing Statlander instead of, helping her win as it did Willow. So I'm curious to see if this leads to something between Stat and Willow as Willow continues her relationship, business relationship with Stokely, and Statlander just refuses to join with them. So I think that's something to watch out for as well. I really hope they don't turn Willow heel. She is, I think, too good of a face to turn heel, to be honest with you. I said it before. She's almost in a Bayley-like role where just her bubbliness and exuberance the crowd is taken by it, and I think it would be kind of silly to turn her heel. Statlander, I think you could do. She's in a much better position.
Yeah, I think
I agree.
But I also don't want to see it either. Yeah, I don't want to see it, but she could handle it.
Yeah.
Out of the two, I'd much rather see Statlander.
Yeah, I love both of them as faces, though. Kris LeClaire bringing up a good point. I forgot they mentioned this on commentary. This was the rubber match between the two women, and Skye Blue is now 2-1 against Kris Statlander. So that's big. That's big for somebody as young as she is, beating somebody as high profile as
a former champion. Former champion.
So good for them, or good for her rather. All right, let's move on. We went again backstage to Nicholas and Matthew Jackson as they continued their hunt for Sting. This time, finally coming upon Sting's locker room. But before barging in there, Matthew makes a note that Sting looked pretty out of his mind last week, and that the only thing that's certain about Sting is nothing certain about Sting. And he wanted to make sure Nicholas was in the right mindset before they headed in there. Nick was like, I'm good. Matt was like, all right, just be on your toes. They go in, they bust in the room, only to find it empty. save for a bunch of black bats hanging from the ceiling. The Bucks were incredibly confused, but clearly Stinger's continued to play mind games with them as they continue their search for him.
I also black baseball bats, just to be. I mean, you don't put anything past Stinger, but they were in fact black baseball bats hanging from the ceiling.
Not like the animal bats. Yeah, the bat. 1, 2, 3 bats. Yeah,
I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of that moment we had.
No,
not at all.
I love doing the count.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's move on to a different animal. This time we had Lionheart Chris Jericho taking on Atlantis Jr. Jericho obviously throwing it back with the gimmick, going with the old school pants. He even brought back the old Lionheart theme. It was kind of cool. Also, really good crack from Taz as Atlantis Jr. was coming out about not liking second-generation wrestlers, calling them Nepo babies, and Excalibur was like, yeah, they're just handed everything, right? And Taz like, yeah, there's just too many of them in the business. Anyway, let's hit the end of this match where after hitting a top rope Hurricanrana, Jericho lined up for a Judas effect, but Atlantis Jr. was able to duck it, and he got Jericho up for his finishing maneuver. I wasn't able to catch what it was. I think it was like Latina something, but
it's like a backbreaker kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he had him up, like fireman's carry,
torture rack,
and I think he was going to attempt to drop him for a backbreaker, but fortunately for Jericho, as he was being spun, he was able to counter out of it, as this was obviously Atlantis Jr.'s father's move, so Atlantis, and Jericho was able to counter, get back to the ground, and lock Atlantis Jr. in the walls. Atlantis Jr. is able to crawl over to the bottom rope, but Jericho drags him back and then relocks in the walls, sitting down at this point. And after what was only felt like a few seconds, Atlantis, the father, threw in the towel for his son as he refused to tap out. After the match, there was a bunch of respect, obviously, shown between the three men, as this was almost a favor to Atlantis from Jericho. But the match itself was fine. I understood why they did it. It was just kind of one of those things Jericho wanted to do. And I'm more than happy that he was able to have this moment and have this exhibition match against, the son of his mentor, James. Cool. I think the number one thing I took away from this was that Atlantis Jr. might quickly rise to ranks of my favorite power slams of all time, because he had a real nasty one on Jericho in the middle of this match.
I'll give you that. That was a great power slam.
For the record, it's Goldust, Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe, not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love Goldie. I think I put Randy ahead of him, but it's close. The match was fine. I'm sorry if I sang down on it. It was fine. Jericho. Oh man, I really wanted to have this match with like one of my OG opponent's sons. Immediately acts like a heel in the match for some inexplicable reason.
I kind of understood that. I figured Jericho said earlier, I want to teach you the way I was taught. And I imagine just everyone was, dick to him in the ring, trying to punk the younger guy. And I think Jericho was just trying to punk him to be like, look, this is what people are going to do to you. Don't let it get in your head. I don't know if he poked his eye, but definitely tried to take the mask off. And I think it was just one of those things. And also, you had Atlantis choke Jericho out with the towel on the ropes. So,
if you try to take my kid's mask off, I'm going to choke you out. But the match was fine. I think Jericho did well here. I think the more important beat about this is that we're really seeing. I think one of the most important bits about this is that we're really seeing the CMLL connection explored further and deepened and enriched. I'm not that familiar with CMLL. I'm more familiar with AAA in general, but I recognize that CMLL has more history. They acknowledged it tonight on commentary. CMLL is 90 years old. It is the oldest wrestling promotion in the world. I didn't know that, and that's incredibly, incredibly impressive. But I don't know. I wasn't wowed by this match. I think the kid has a lot of potential. I don't want to make him seem like some rookie, because that's not the case. He's clearly a champion for them in CMLL. but it was definitely, I think, an adjustment to be on American TV. I saw that they were having some trouble playing to the camera a little bit. There were certain instances that they weren't really on the TV side, but ROH on AEW 3.0. Get out of here. No. But yeah, I just to be clear, I don't have a problem with CMLL being here. I'm excited for CMLL. Like, I like the stuff they're doing with the BCC. I like certain talents that are being showcased here, but this one didn't really do it for me the same way. And maybe it's because of Jericho. Maybe it was because of this. Maybe it was because of Junior. But something didn't quite hit for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you did see the lack of experience by Atlantis Juniors, like especially with the cameras, and obviously him and Jericho would probably never work together, so that can always make things a little tricky. As does perhaps a language barrier. I don't know should Atlantis speak any English or not, but I guess I get why they did it. I am very curious to see what goes on with the CMLL stuff in the future. I think I did read that a lot of the wrestlers who were recently in AEW for CMLL, I think a lot of the guys who faced off against the BCC, their visas might be up in terms of travel visas and working visas. So that might be a little bit of a complication.
I also know that the AEW
we'll see what happens with them in the future. And
I don't know if that was me or if that was Rev.
I do believe it was me because both of you guys froze. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You never stopped. It's just there was no regard as to what was happening on our side.
But yeah, I think we'll see, Matt, what happens with CML in the future. As for this match, it was what it was.
I have some thoughts, James. What were you about to say though? You sound like you had one last comment.
The AEW guys are going to be wrestling in CMLL soon.
Yeah.
I think around the end of March. So we're going to see that feud finish off in CMLL, like when it comes to like the BCC guys and everything.
Right.
But
I just think we're going to see less of luchadors from CMLL.
I think it's going to be short bursts that we see these guys, like maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and that's probably it at a time.
Right.
Cool. So my thoughts, I think you guys worded it very eloquently and nicely. My take, it might be a little mean, but it's just like, I watched this match and I'm like, it's inoffensive, but there's no love lost on Jericho. And this is the kind of match that I'm just like, I watch it, I'm like, well, this gives me no reason to care about CMLL. Like, there's nothing here that's exciting or invigorating or intoxicating. It's just there, and it feels almost kind of like fan service. But I'm like, is like, what is the percentage of American fans that are looking for this? I don't know, but I doubt it's a lot. Yeah. Again, someone who's been a fan of Jericho for a very long time. I mean, I've never said this on the pod, but like, I started watching wrestling, oddly enough, in the Ruthless Aggression era, and my first match watching was Jericho versus Edge on SmackDown in the steel cage, and I effing loved it. So I have a very warm spot for Jericho, but this was just kind of like, I just don't give a shit. And
it's fair.
Like I don't wish anything, I don't wish any badness on either of them, but it's just kind of like, this isn't it, guys. Like, you got to think harder than this and not just be like, well, there's history here and like warm, fuzzy feelings, because people don't have warm, fuzzy feelings for Jericho right now. So you can't like ride on that. You can't rely on that. So it's like Jericho either needs to have a banger or not be on TV. And that's my hot take.
I almost feel like this match maybe have been better served on Rampage. I think it would have allowed them to maybe cut around some of the difficulties that they were having playing to the cameras. I also, Matt, you called it fan service. I think it was mostly fan service for Jericho, at least to an American audience. I think a decent chunk of the Mexican audience, who perhaps watched the show. I don't know what ratings AEW does in Mexico at all, but maybe some of the Mexican American audience. Maybe a little bit of fan service to them. Somebody being like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen Atlantis Senior in decades, and his son's wrestling." It's almost kind of like when I see fucking Vlad Guerrero Jr. playing first base for the Twins. But I got to imagine it hit a certain audience, like in the nostalgia. But I think this match wasn't really for us, and I understand that, and I'm totally okay with that. I just think, it was the only upside was it filled the time slot of death. I think I'm a little happy they put it there instead of that women's match, which was so good. Although I guess if you did flip them, it would have gave the audience a lot of energy going into that final segment, because for a minute there I thought they were
the crowd.
The
crowd was into it. The crowd was into it for the main event segment.
They were. Also, not a lot of time left for that segment, but we'll get to it in a second.
The one thing I will say is I know there are a lot of people who aren't thrilled with the AEW New Japan relationship because it tends to be pretty one-sided to AEW, at least on AEW TV. I know when the AEW guys go to New Japan, they're doing the honors for the New Japan talent. But whenever a New Japan talent comes over to AEW and has a match, it serves a purpose. Like, I know there is a lot of people who are like, why is Bryan Danielson wrestling this Japanese old guy that I've never seen before? But it's right the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But it's serving a purpose because Bryan is literally beating up and disrespecting Eddie Kingston's heroes, the people Eddie Kingston has looked up to and is modeling his own career after. It serves a purpose there. There was no purpose here. Jericho is not. He is involved in a story, but he's not really involved in a story. I don't know what he's involved in right now.
I was involved in my tag team partner got diverticulitis, and I had
seriously.
To do.
So this was a match with no heat to it because Jericho's not doing anything. This didn't do anything for Jericho other than he beat up a CMLL talent. Yeah. And I think the last thing I just want to say on this point is I'm a big fan of when champions from other companies come in and they get to show off their championship. Maybe don't do that if you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Like, because to me, that championship is devalued.
I don't even know what it was to start.
I think it was I think it was a middleweight championship.
Yeah.
But weird move on that part. But regardless, Jericho got a win. That's what he wanted.
It was a little self-indulgent by Jericho, I think, and which is why I think it would have been better served on Rampage. And I agree. I think we could have done something else in this time segment and given the end segment a little bit more time, because I don't know if shit got cut short because something went long or this was the plan all along. But I'll discuss it more. I wanted more out of the final segment. So I guess we're at that point. So let's get into it. Because literally right after that match ended, the Jericho Atlantis Jr. match ended, Nicholas and Matthew Jackson finally come down to the ring in their final attempt to find Sting before Dynamite ends. And of course, as they head down the ramp, there's a bunch of people in the front row wearing Sting masks.
First time in the entirety of AEW that they made sure merch was out for Sting masks.
Well, they also... I think they've ran that bit before with Sting and the Sting mask. And because of that, Nick Jackson's too smart for that shit. And he starts going up to fans and flipping up their masks. However, as he's going through it, one of them attacks him, and it's not Sting, but Darby Allin. Darby hops the barricade and starts going after Nick, eventually switching over to Matt. However, Nick is able to recover, and he ends up taking out Darby. The numbers game and the fact that the Jacksons still have their bats come into play, and eventually Darby is hit a few times with the bats and hit with an EVP trigger in the ring. After that, the Bucks look like they're going to continue their beatdown, but Ric Flair's music hits, and he comes down to the ring, and the Bucks hold Darby and hand him a bat. However, Rick apparently, instead of turning on Sting for once, decided to turn on the Bucks. He hits Nick with the bat and starts throwing right hands at Matt, backing him into the corner with some of the weakest right hands I've ever seen.
Hey, those haymakers had heat, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and 40 years ago. And that stops when Nick Jackson hits Rick with a low blow. They then start beating up Rick, kicking him on the floor until Sting's music finally hits, and the Jacksons grab their bats and go to the top of the ramp to try to find Sting. However, he was in the most obvious place that they didn't look, and Sting was in the rafters. And for the first time in AEW, Sting descends from the rafters and comes down, and the Bucks attempt to run down the ramp, and he immediately disarms their bats with his own bats. He starts taking it to Nick. Nicholas. Matthew gets hit with a coffin drop from Darby. Sting drags Nicholas into the ring, hits him with the Scorpion Death Drop, and kicks him out of the ring. And the two Jacksons retreat up the ramp as Sting, Darby, and Ric Flair stand tall in the ring. Now, I have two thoughts on this because, as I said, I thought this needed more time. Right? This is Sting's final appearance on Dynamite as an active wrestler. And they gave him like 5 minutes. But at the same time, is this not the most quintessential Sting thing you've ever seen?
Oh, absolutely.
You got the Darby in a Sting mask, so I'll take it. And a dude came down from the rafters, kicked everybody's ass, and they had to leave. I don't think you got much better or like prime, WCW Crow Sting than that. So, James, I'm on the fence about this. I loved it, but I feel like it should have been longer.
I would have accepted longer, but I got everything I needed out of it. I felt like a little kid again watching Sting come down through the rafters. And we've seen it more recently than that. We saw it. I think they did it in WWE once. One of the rafters. I think so. The one time.
I know they did the fake statue thing with Seth, and he was in there.
And I know they did it in TNA. I know they did it in TNA. So
that's not Sting. It's a picture of Sting.
All-time soundbite. But I felt like a kid watching Sting come down through the rafters and save the day with his baseball bat. Dual-wielding baseball bats at one point. It was amazing. Yes, it could have gone on a little longer, but what more could he have done? Like, was he gonna? He could have gotten on the mic, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was the only thing I kind of wanted. But
you got to remember,
he never did
Sting. Yeah, Sting in WCW went months without wrestling. That we only saw him standing in the rafters, and that was it. Those were his only appearances on Nitro. Him standing in the rafters. And then finally he would come down and clear house, but he didn't cut the hero promo after those instances. He just came down, kicked ass, saved the day, and that was that. So this felt, like you said, quintessential Sting. He cut the promo last week. I think last week's promo was the best of his AEW run and maybe one of the best of his entire career. So I got the promo last week. This week I got the hero. And I'm good. I'm really good. We got the promo. We got the hero moment. And on Sunday, we're going to get the match.
Yeah, maybe just one woo before he went off the air. But
yeah, that's fair.
I guess you're right. Matt, what side of the fence are you coming down on this? Or are you on neither side?
I'm in the middle. Like, I would have liked it to run a little bit longer, but I mean, I think they got everything they needed to do in those 5 minutes. They got more bang for their buck, as they say.
No pun intended. Yeah.
I will say it was funny seeing him come down from the rafters. It looked like the thing he was jerry-rigged was like much more substantial and secure than what he had in WCW. Like, we didn't actually see him get unhooked because it was probably like a whole process. And I appreciate that. Like, we don't need another Owen Hart situation. So I'd rather err on the side of caution. And to their credit, the cameras kind of worked around that because I think probably Darby was like fiddling around with that, kind of like how Jack Swagger was trying to unhook the Money in the Bank briefcase. But I mean, there was nothing not to like about this. I will say, Ric Flair, please stop. Like, I met the man in October. I saw the man go to the bathroom 3 times in an hour. Like, just please stop. Like, we don't need you to do any kind of like hits. Just, you can come out and say woo and be like, I'm the nature boy. Like, that's good enough for me. Come out, do that, and then go back to the bathroom.
Quite frankly, I don't even want that.
That's fair too. That's fair too. You can be completely done with Ric Flair, but I do not want to see any kind of like physical altercation because it's sad. And it's just, I have all the respect for the work that he has put in and the accomplishments that he has accomplished, but just no more. Like it's like I think I told you. I might have said on this pod when Vince McMahon had his last match. I'm watching this. I'm like, I am positive that my dad, who has not probably been in a physical altercation in 50 years, who's only a few years younger than Vince and is 5'6" on his best day, could kick Vince McMahon's ass unanimously after watching this match.
Jackhammer? Really?
Oh, my dad has a beat. My dad's in great shape. Like. And again, not a physically imposing man, not someone who's going to fight anybody, but like if he had to fight Vince McMahon, he'd wipe the floor with him, and it goes double for Ric Flair. Like you know, let us have the memories. And there's ways to showcase older talent. Like when Dusty Rhodes, and I know I'm going on a rant here, so please just oblige me for a moment. When Dusty Rhodes came back with Cody and Goldust. You know, he was like whipping the Shield with his belt and he hit a bionic elbow. Like that is perfect. It was like a believable, like, is it kind of like corny and silly? Yeah, but like it's in the context, it's believable and it's enjoyable. It wasn't sad. And what we saw out of Rick tonight for me is sad. And I don't want to see stuff like that. I don't want to see stuff that is sad in that context.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've been also having a love-hate relationship with Rick being in AEW. I know he's literally paying them to be there. I've enjoyed him just kind of standing on the sidelines and being there as a sports thing and woo and strut around a little bit and fine. But this is a good gif here. It's the old snail in the SpongeBob snail race with the torch. Like, kind of looks like Rick.
It does. It does.
Throwing these weak ass punches. The fact that Matt was even selling them, or Matthew, excuse me, force a habit.
I wasn't selling shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been like Matthew should have just ate them and look. He's 110 billion years old, and his body's even older than that. Yeah, it's literally like, in the beginning, there was Ric Flair. He's that old. So he should have no-sold them, and I probably would have looked at this a lot funnier. But whatever. Hopefully, Rick's there. If he's there Sunday, that's the last time we see him, and we can get past this. But other than that, this was fun. This was good. Like, a little longer, but really, really good.
If he wants to do social media, like, planned, rehearse social media, like, shout outs, that's fine. Like, I'm down for that. But again, none of this anymore in the ring stuff.
I think we're good with Rick in the ring. He faked a heart attack last time he had a match. I think we're all pretty much done with it. But all right, that was Dynamite. I thought this was. What did I miss? Okay, yeah, I guess we can go over that really quickly. I was going to wait till the end, but we could do that now. We would like to extend our condolences to the families of Ole Anderson and Virgil, who both unfortunately passed away today. I think Virgil, I don't actually know how either of them passed, so I'm not even going to go there. But obviously, this really sucks. A lot of people have a lot of fond memories of them. I know the clip of Virgil turning on the $1 Million Man back in, I think it was the 91 Royal Rumble, was circulating a lot today. James, do you have any thoughts on these two greats?
No, it's always sad when legends in the business are no longer with us. I know Virgil had a rough go of it towards the end, and I hope he's at peace. And Ole Anderson is one of the, he was one of the legendary Four Horsemen, and he helped pave the way for a lot of guys in his time. So just a big thank you to both men for providing memories for many people, for millions of people over the years. And, I hope you guys are going bell to bell up there.
Well said. All right, let's, I guess, get back to. Oh, Matt, do you have anything? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny. Neither of these guys meant a lot to me personally, but I'm sure they meant a lot to other people. So it's always sad when these things happen. I mean, especially for Virgil. I mean, Oli was 81. That's a pretty full life. I'm sure Virgil was much younger than that. And the only thing I have to say about Virgil is I saw him at GCW at Hammerstein Ballroom a couple years ago, and I don't want to say it's sad because it is sad, but it's not like how I was saying Ric Flair was sad. It was sad in the way that I saw him interacting. It just seemed like something was off. Like I thought he was like legit going to get into a altercation with a fan. And these guys, they go through so much, and I don't know what his situation was like, if everything was there or not.
He's been battling dementia the last few years.
See that? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, and I could see that at GCW. Like you could because he was not too far from me, and I could tell that like something was disturbing, and I really feel for him. So
real bummer to go out on that note.
I'm just being real. I'm being real. Heartfelt condolences to both men and their families, and hopefully brighter days are ahead, especially with everyone who performs nowadays. We want to see everyone have full, fulfilling lives.
Absolutely.
All right. To awkwardly transition, I would like to, get our overall thoughts on Dynamite, because I did really think this was a very, very good Dynamite, as, it was the Dynamite Go Home show for Revolution. I think we set up a lot of good stuff heading into the show. We set up everything with FTR and BCC. We set up Eddie and Brian. We set up both the TNT and international championship matches, as well as, the big reveal of Hangman being an absolute asshole, the liar, as he was referred to as in the opening of the show, as we head into that three-way match. And obviously, we got the big pop of Sting at the end, and a great women's match. So, Matt, I think this was outside of that one segment, the Jericho match. Think of it what you will. I really, really enjoyed this Dynamite.
I'm glad you enjoyed this Dynamite. Like I said, I only really caught the last hour, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You should watch the first hour. It was a lot of good stuff happened in it.
Cool. Glad to hear it. But definitely bring on more like women's matches like that. If they keep like pulling off women's matches like that, which they are 100% capable of doing, if they're on a roll like this, we could have an AEW like women's, like full women's only pay-per-view. They could do it.
They definitely have the talent.
Yeah, they have the talent. It's just the booking. All right, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to keep
and the lack of time, unfortunately. I know that part of that's with the booking, but
yeah,
they don't give the women the time.
They really don't. But I assume you're going to throw it to me now, Rev. But so I'll just take over. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed this episode of Dynamite a lot. Like I said, I think this is going to be one of those historic Dynamites that we look back on in a few years, with the official arrival of Will Ospreay and the official departure of Sting. And I'm very grateful to have watched it live. I'm very grateful to have taken part in it. I think the crowd was there for most of the show tonight. And I'm very invested, other than the Jericho stuff, I'm very invested in almost everything that happened tonight. I'm very much looking forward to the triple threat. I'm very much looking forward to the women's match that will be at Revolution. I'm very much looking forward to the international and TNT title matches. So, and I'm super into Brian and Eddie. So I think tonight really did its job of getting me involved and getting me invested, and keep it. I'm very, very, very much looking forward to next week's Dynamite.
Yeah, next week's Dynamite. I know we kind of called the one after World's End kind of like the start of a new era, but I almost feel like this is like the holding period. And we'll see what happens at Revolution, but this really could become the start of the new era of Dynamite, as we see who becomes champion. Obviously, you said Sting leaves, Ospreay comes in. We have new talent now. Who knows if anybody else debuts? Although we do have March 13th coming up I was getting to that. Kris gave it a 9 out of 10. I think it's right around there as well. This is definitely an A show. So I really enjoyed it. And James, you left out the most important match they set up, and so did I. Takeshita versus Ospreay is going to absolutely fuck.
Absolutely.
So, but I am counting down the minutes until that match shows up. Also, as producer boy continues to go through some highlights here, I did notice that the Bucks have their Dior's back, so good for them.
All right, what matters.
Yep. On that note, I would like to. Oh, Matt.
Before we hit Revolution, MLW is in Queens tomorrow. I'll be there. I'm not sure about you guys, but would hope to see you all there. And House of Glory is on Saturday. I know some of us will be there.
Yeah.
Hope some of our viewers are going to be there as well.
Yeah, if you guys see us at either of those shows, come up, say hi. I know. I think Nas saw me at SmackDown once and was too afraid to say hi. No, come up. We want to talk to you guys. It'd be nice. It's nice to meet our fans in person. So we'd love to see you guys. Chop it up before the show or whatever. And if you are going to any of those shows, we hope you enjoy them. I'm really excited for the House of Glory show, man. I really think we're gonna get some good matches. I'm psyched to see Mustafa. I'm psyched to see Danhausen. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
All right. So on that note, I would like to thank everybody here so much for watching us at the Mark It Down podcast. We would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Liking lets us know that you enjoyed the video, and subscribing helps you come back and see everything else we do. It also helps us knowing that you like everything we're doing. We will be having James. We doing Gym Pack Zone tomorrow?
Yes, we are doing Gym Pack Zone tomorrow.
All right, so if you are a TNA Impact fan or at least want to keep up with all the turmoil going on over there, I know there's a lot of stuff happening, be sure to check out the Gym Pack Zone tomorrow after Impact. We've been trying to do a little more SmackDown and stuff on Fridays, so you can subscribe, see if we'll go live then. We will be live on Sunday after Revolution, so be sure to check us out for that. And then we have Danny's Raw Fast Forwards on Monday. Be sure to go check out our interview with Axel Tischer. Did I say that correctly? Tischer. Thank you. You guys might know him as Alexander Wolf. He was an awesome interview with us. He had a lot of great insight into NXT, the main roster, TNA, and just indies and wrestling and life in general. So
and Gunther.
Yes, and Gunther. Yes. So Sanity, be sure to check that out. It's a really, really good interview. And we'll be trying to get some more interviews in the future. Like James said earlier, I think we got Sweet Cheeks from House of Glory.
I am so really hyped. I have no idea how hyped I am for that interview.
Really quick story about Sweet Cheeks. Last time we went to House of Glory, it was my first ever one. So James was explaining to me that Sweet Cheeks used to be a cop. I didn't realize he meant in kayfabe until like 20 minutes into the match. And I was like, wow, this guy's a cop? He's a really good wrestler. And James was like, no, Nick, in kayfabe, he was a cop. And then I told him later at the meet and greet, he thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard.
That's great.
So, yeah, be sure to subscribe. You can check out all of that stuff. We apparently also have an interview with Brianna Bands coming up as well. So, Anthony Flip, a lot of stuff coming, guys. We're working with a lot of different wrestlers, trying to get them to come on the show. So be sure to subscribe, and you can check out all of those interviews. Also, be sure to follow us on social media. If you're on YouTube, all the links are in the description below. If you're not, on Twitter, we are at @markitdown_pod. On Instagram, we're on markitdown_pod. And our YouTube is youtube.com/markitdown3665. If you check us out on social media, I'll be live tweeting Revolution on Sunday. You can also, hopefully, we'll get some shots from House of Glory this weekend, so you can see how that show goes and all that stuff as well. So I think that's it. Matt, James, you guys have anything before we go?
See you in the Gym Pack Zone tomorrow.
Sounds good. So for Matt Cascone, James Asante, and producer boy Eric Asante in the background, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good night, everybody.